I'm here today with a big smile on my face to celebrate World Refrigeration Day. We're the first people in the world to do so, and it's pretty cool. Excuse the pun. Yeah, pleasure to see you all.
Hey everyone, I'm Trevor Matthews, calling in from Canada. So I'm super excited to be part of this panel because this is the start of World Refrigeration Day. It's Sunday afternoon here for me, and I'm excited to hear a little bit about Refrigeration Mentor. We're a training organization for the commercial refrigeration industry, and we really love World Refrigeration Day because it's a day that we can celebrate all the great things we're doing around the world and how we can promote it and get it to the public and get people involved and excited as much as we are today. So I'm so happy to be here.
Awesome. Great. I think we've got I'm not sure if Stephen's logged in as a participant or a guest yet, but I understand, Megan, you're going to MC the event today.
Well, what I will do is I will just try and get Stephen to the call. So perhaps you guys could kick off while I support him from a technical perspective. How about that? So I think on today's set of questions, we're looking at the future of refrigeration. So quite funny that we opened the first Refrigeration Day event with some young people looking at the future of cool. And so keen to hear your guys' thoughts today. Matthew, could you kick off with that question, the first one on the list there? And I'll see you soon, trying to get Stephen back in.
Yeah, sure. So I guess as you said, the question is, what is to us, what is the future of refrigeration look like? And I guess from my perspective, certainly it's been a bit of a wild ride in the last decade, to say the least. I mean, if I think about when I was doing my apprenticeship, we were dealing with CFCs and removing them or using them actually to blow condensers out, clean condensers from dust originally. And then all of a sudden we realized how bad they were, and then we moved into HCFCs, and now we're in HFCs and moving quickly into HFOs and naturals. And all along the way, that's been a huge technological change, which I think has a lot of us have just taken for granted, because I think most people talk a lot about controls and the electrification, if you like, of mechanical valves into electronic valves, and speed drives on fixed speed motors and all that kind of thing. Those seem to be the things that capture people's imagination and attention far more so than the shift in gases. And yeah, that was something that's always stuck with me. What about you, Andre?
Yeah, well, next gen cooling for me, it's the two things, and it's the youngsters. So it's the future engineers that will be coming through. There's a huge lack of fridges here in New Zealand and worldwide. We all know that. The biggest issue is trying to get the word out there. I've been on a bit of a TikTok challenge for the last month, trying to promote the refrigeration trade here, and I'm not going to stop, even though we've achieved World Refrigeration Day today. Ultimately, I'm going to carry on. It's my passion. It's something I really believe in. And the next thing is obviously naturals. We're already in the natural stage, but it's obviously trying to shift more from synthetics into naturals going forward. So, yeah.
Yeah. Tim, from your perspective, what's the future look like for you?
Yeah, it's no doubt that the future's moving quickly towards the HFOs, the hydrocarbons. I think there's still a little bit of fear out there, particularly with our size. I see with the smaller size refrigeration, the R290s and the HFOs are going to really dominate there. Yeah, good training. Since the last week, I've really spent a lot of time looking into training on A3s and trying to really figure out how we can best train our people. It's no longer really, in my opinion, it's no longer really leaving it up to the industry organisations to train our people. I think we have to do that internally, and train our own people until the industry organisations catch up. So there seems to be, a fair bit of resource out there, but nothing really official. And I think that's probably what we're trying to find, is something official to train our people, so that people aren't as afraid of it as it's in my opinion, it's kind of like a builder with electrical. When a builder thinks of electrical and electrical wiring, they freak out because it's a little bit of that fear of the unknown. They just get an electrician to do it. Where I think Frigies, we do know how to handle, obviously, dangerous, gases that are considered dangerous, such as the HFCs of old. But moving towards the hydrocarbons, it's a bit of a tweak in our trade, really. And it's not something to be afraid of. It's just about managing risks and knowing what the controls are.
Yeah, sure. And I guess, Trevor, that would be something that you're pretty well versed in, right? We talk about not having much in the way of training outside of the apprenticeship schemes here in New Zealand, and that's your sweet spot, right?
Yeah, Tim, you got to reach out. This is what I do day in and day out. So, and I agree with you that we need more training. We need more people passionate about it. We need to get more people involved. I feel over the years it started to slow down on that type of training. And this is what refrigeration events are all about. But I think globally, we need to start working together, from contractors to manufacturers to associations, to come together, because as more and more people leave the industry, that knowledge is going away, and we need to get more people to come in. We hear of it all the time, and I've talked to Steve about this before when he gets on. I talked to many other people. 4 years ago, they were saying the same thing. We're short on manpower. We don't have enough people coming in, and it's just continuing to going to happen. So what do? We need to do what Tim is saying. Internally, you got to be training. Externally, you got to be getting them training, and we got to focus on bringing that knowledge to new people, as well as the people that have been in the industry for 10 or 15 years, because that's where I see the biggest gap. Like, we're talking about getting new people in the industry. I think we need to train up the people that are already in the industry already, and get that they should already be prepared for A3. Timothy, you're talking about you need to train your guys and your technicians and your girls and whoever's involved there. But if they've been doing this for 10 years, A3 has been, I've been talking about A3s for over 7 or 8 years, 9 years now, you know what I mean? So there is a combination of a lot of different things. And this is why I'm excited about the industry, because there's a lot of opportunity for us to grow together, the industry, from contractors, manufacturers, like I said, and associations. Because I hear the same thing, even here in Canada. We got great schools, we have great apprenticeship program, but a lot of contractors tell me that, after they're done their 4 years, they're not ready for the jobs that I need them for. Like, I still got to train them another 3 or 4 years. So that's where the contractor has to understand that there needs to be a lot of training in that first 4, 5, 6 years of someone coming in that has no clue about commercial refrigeration, especially. So I'm excited, and I'm glad that we're here on this panel to talk about it a bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Dave, I mean, you would have seen, listening to what Trevor's saying, you would have seen the full cycle, right? We've gone from having a pretty strong apprenticeship program back in the 80s to it all almost collapsing, and now you're one of the few that's working overtime to try and get it back up and running again.
It certainly has been a roller coaster ride, Matt. We've gone through a very structured training program to a very haphazard, and there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes trying to get our education program back up and running again. But Tim, to your question, it won't be Polytechs, or it'll be in-house training. It'll be people like Trevor delivering stuff. And I guess one of the big obstacles we have here is our lack of legislation. The regulators are in the dark as much as we are. So the introduction, or New Zealand finally getting on board with the International Standard 5149, getting that out and getting it into people's understanding of what charge limits mean, how to figure out those charge limits, and how to work safely with the naturals that are coming on board. Like you, Tim, I agree. Synthetics, flammables will take over the synthetics place in the medium term. We've gone a long way with CO2. Where ammonia is still very important to us, but certainly I see the biggest growth is going to come from the flammable refrigerants. And yes, there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes to try to get that regulatory side of it. Local government New Zealand are now starting to listen to what we're talking about as to their role in making sure that building warrants of fitnesses are fit for purpose, and that the people that are issuing those warrants of fitnesses are aware of what the requirements are. The Insurance Council, working with them so they understand the risks that they're taking on when they offer insurance on a building that's got a flammable refrigerant in it. All that sort of stuff is equally as important as trying to train the guys on the ground to safely work with it. So, yep, that's been the focus of the last couple of years, and it's an exciting time to be doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. I can see a black box with Stephen's name in the bottom left corner. So hopefully we'll be able to see him and hear him soon. But in the meantime, just I understand. It sounds to me like, hey, Stephen, g'day. It sounds to me like we've got a quite a long road ahead of us in terms of getting the workforce up to speed with new technology as it comes in. How do you think we're going to go keeping pace with the new technology and the training? Because if we've got a struggle on our hands to get our workforces up to speed with new standards and new technology that comes in, but technology is evolving so quickly, how do you see us coping with that?
Sorry, was that directed to me? The standards?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think really, like, here in Canada, it's a bit different there. We do have a lot of stuff moving along. I don't know the legislation, to be honest, there, but I think here we've been working on our B52 code for a while, trying to get in naturals in their CO2. I know it's in our code now, which is still being worked on, as well as A3s a bit. So it's something that we need to continue to work on. And I really believe that, once again, we need to be the forefront right now to help them, because where you're at, the regulators are not where they need to be, because everything's happening so fast. But is it happening fast, or refrigeration just like they're just waiting, just leaving refrigeration in the back corner? You know what I mean? Because this has been happening for a while. So we need to work together and get more people involved in these associations. You know, we got to get more contractors, more technicians, more personnel in the industry to start voicing their opinion and talk about it, because we need to be safe out there. The people that are out there that are trained and skilled, they still need that upskill training, that confidence booster, but we need to work together. It doesn't matter where at in the world, and try to come together to help each other get our regulations up to speed, get our training up to speed, get people on the same page, so we make it easier for our industry and not feel like we're in the dark. I don't know if that helped answer the question, but
no, that's awesome. Thank you. Yeah, and a warm welcome to the father of World Refrigeration Day, Mr. Stephen Gill. Thanks for joining us, Stephen. It's great to see you.
Yeah, sorry I'm late. It's like being late to my own party. I'm sorry about that. We sometimes say late to our own funeral, but anyway, I shouldn't say that today. No, it's great. It's great to be here. I have been listening to some of the conversations, so I did manage to log in, I think, as a guest or something. But so I did hear some of the earlier comments, and Trevor just said he could only, was it the last 4 years he's been hearing about skill short. Blimey, you're so lucky. I've been listening to the last 40 years, so it's nothing new in that. We've always been short of skills ever since I joined the industry, and I'm sure before. I should say it didn't start with me. But it's like saying, you know, I don't know, the computer industry. You know, are we stuck on Windows 98? It's continually updating, and I think again that some of the speakers have already mentioned that the need to change and update our skills and upgrade them is a constant thing. It's not something we can, I learned 5 years ago, so I'm good for the next 20. It just doesn't work in this modern day and age. We really do need to. And you also touched about legislation and regulation, I think, and the pace, or the dwell, the lag, the lead. It's a bit of both. It's a bit of both. There are elements of our industry who just are reluctant to move forward quickly because they know that they can foresee the problems. So, oh, we haven't got the skills right, and they're quite right. But at the same time, that just delays things going forward. So they delay the regulators who are pushing forward, rightly or wrongly, informed or not informed. But yeah, there is a disconnect. And again, I think Trevor also I'm just repeating what Trevor's already said, and he put it much better than I did anyway.
Well, I think that, I mean, the work you've done is fantastic, and I think the creation of World Refrigeration Day has certainly done a lot to raise the profile of the industry globally. The experience that I'm still having here locally, though, is that we are, by and large, we're an industry that is completely under the radar, and so attracting attention to potential new people coming into the industry is still a real challenge. What's the panel's thoughts here on ideas or things that we can do to become more attractive or more visible outside of the huge effort, Stephen, that you put in every year? But yeah, making it something, I don't know, how do we make refrigeration sexy?
Oh, I don't know about sexy, but I I was involved in an interview panel just last week. I wasn't doing the interviewing. I was just invited to sit in. And I swear that it was the same techniques, the same questions were being asked as when I joined the industry. It's not just about retracting people. We have to change the conversation. I also get involved in energy and climate change and also net zero. Their interviews are very, very different. They're talking to young people about the climate. They're talking about how you can make a change. We start talking about F-gas and copper pipe and oils. You just think, are you prepared to work overtime? The questions are they're not going to excite me. I mean, I don't know why they did in the first place, but they certainly wouldn't excite me now. We just have to check. So that's just the recruitment stage. There's so much that we have to do as an industry just to upgrade ourselves, to start thinking like a modern, forward-looking industry, rather than one that's got it's got a great long tradition. It's got many positives to it, but let's get stuck in the past. Let's move forward.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a great point. Yeah, and I guess on that, then, well, what would the future of cooling look like based on something that's future forward looking and I guess not copper pipe and do you want to do overtime? What is that?
I'll let somebody else answer. Or did somebody else want to jump in here? Or Trevor, if you were interviewing, what would you say to a young person?
Well, for me, it's like why I love refrigeration. I can do what I want. I can travel the world. That's what I want to do. I did that. You know what I mean? And I still do it. I travel all over the world because of it. I get to use new technology, like super cool things where I can take my phone and I can work on and troubleshoot something. I can work as many hours as I want, or now I can work as many little hours as I want. But since I own a business, I should work more hours so I can pay my bills, right? But there's so much opportunity, and it's not only working nights, or it's not only traveling all the time. If you're young and you're ambitious, you can start off and make lots of money and make a lot of money very quickly while learning a skill. But what I see is that what's happening is a lot of people are getting burnt out, and there's a lot of people being pushed into, well, you got to do it this way, this way, this way. No, there's different ways to do it. Work smarter and work harder, and we can grow this industry together. And the things that I think that what we need to do is we do have to focus more on the schools, because I see it here. I go to high schools and I talk to schools, and I see other tradespeople do. I'm in that association where we'll go talk to high school students. And then when we talk to the guidance counselor, that was great, but we're still going to promote them to go to college and university. So we need to get back to the parents and figure this out, because the guidance counselor is still going to tell them, well, I went to university and I'm going to send them there, right? So we need to get to the parents, we need to get to the kids, we got to show them what the value of this is. And everyone's going to be different, but we need to, it's like any job. It doesn't matter if you go and do an office job, it's going to be hard. You know what I mean? Sitting at a desk for 8 hours a day, typing on a computer is not easy. Some people may think it is.
Yeah, no,
I
we
think
have to
there's-
get, you're right about the parents. We have to get to the influencers, and parents, the teachers, the career advisors. We have to get the. I was also invited, not recently. It was actually 15 years ago. I was invited to a careers evening, and there were all a list of professionals lined up. I'll say I was up against. There was a doctor, there was a lawyer, there was an accountant, there was all sorts, and I took my turn. And I just had 3 slides. So the first slide was, I think Trevor's touched on this, places I'd been around the world. And I said, where? Guess what my trade is? Travel agent, airline pilot. I said, no, very good, but no. And then, next slide was I put people eating, people in hospital. I said, these are all the people I've fed and comforted and saved vaccine. I've saved today. Whoa, must be a saint or something. There must be something really special about you. And the third slide was my genuine payslip, and I put that up. Rolled his breath. Wow, did the parents and everybody come and see me afterwards? I don't think I'm overly. I was on better pay than the barristers and the well, not the barristers, the junior lawyers and the other ones that were there, and that the parents, everybody was suddenly interested. But if I'd have put up a compressor or a copper pipe or the F-gas regulations or something, I don't think I'd have got into the same level of interest. That's my experience. Yeah. Show them what we do and the benefits.
Yeah, no, it is hard to make this this trade sexy, as someone mentioned. But there are definitely ways to get in front of colleges, high school age kids. Local chamber of commerces have great resources in that regard that we've already been able to tap into and just get in front of. You need some thick skin, but you can get in front of thousands of college students in a day on an event but it does take a bit of investment from us. We often think about investment as investing in a new vehicle or investment into a new piece of equipment or so on. So where we need to be, I think, investing in that making ourselves visible, at the very least, somehow interesting. Well, it's a very interesting. Everybody inside the trade knows that the trade is very interesting, but nobody outside the trade knows that. So, yeah, as you say, that's Stephen. That method was to show people what we affect everyday lives of literally the entire population of the world. So.
Yeah, we're fighting against perceptions. As soon as we say refrigeration engineer, the perception's already there. I think we have to hold that back when we're getting people. But if I'm not a fisherman, but if I was fishing, I wouldn't be showing them the catch net first. I'd be casting out the line. It's you don't show them the end result. You have to attract them in first. And unfortunately, there's conscious and bias and all sorts of things. People have already formed their opinion. Oh, I'm a fridge technician. Oh, really?
Sorry, just to interrupt there, Stephen. The other thing too I find fascinating is all of you have been able to pursue careers in a very varied way, right? So the number of people in our industry who can become business owners, like Tim has done, going through. Matthew has built businesses. Trevor, you've built a global business now in podcasting and training, like a completely different space. We've got Andre and Dave, both who have been in industry associations and leadership roles, and yourself, Stephen, just an incredible checkered, career of things. So we focus so much on the tools component, but that really is enabling us to go into so many different ways. So given the pathways, what does the future look like for our industry in terms of employment and the future?
That's a great question.
And it's interesting. Our trade, I think, it naturally comes at the end of the line. The building's built, we put in the whatever. The insulators have done their job. We get to put the evaporators in. We're always at the end of the line. I think in some ways, career-wise, we're also slipping into that mentality. When it came to energy efficiency was a big thing a few years ago. Instead of us really grasping it holistically, we were looking at our own bit, but a whole sort of generation of energy engineers suddenly appeared who were then looking at our refrigeration systems from remotely, who had no understanding. The same is now happening with net zero. There's a load of net zero engine people coming around telling us what we should be doing. I think going forward, I think we have to get out of this. We're the last port of call. We have to sort of take it forward and say, no, we are the problem solvers. We should be at the front of this conversation, not at the rear.
Yeah, good point.
I agree with that. I think there's a massive opportunity for all of us if we can put our head together. And I really like, and I know we talked about this before, Steve, but doing some upfront promotion before you get into like the hard work, you know, the late nights and stuff like that. But totally, I think we need to work together as an industry globally, because the same struggles that are happening here in Canada are happening there in New Zealand, happen in Australia, the UK. I talked to everybody, South Africa, and they're saying the exact same thing. But why do we, like Steve says, why do we keep saying the same thing? Why aren't we doing something? You know what I mean? So we need to come together and figure out how to do this, because there's so much opportunity for us as an industry to grow and help people out there, because there are a lot of people honestly struggling and they don't know about this golden nugget of refrigeration.
Yeah.
Well, there's sorry, Stephen.
No, you go, Tim. You go.
Yeah,
I've been hogging this. Yes.
No, that's okay. I guess, you know, the changing, the trade is changing so fast. You know, we're innovating so quickly to keep up with the demand of reducing HFCs. I mean, that's, you know, making a difference is really millennial and Gen Z, Y. You know, that's what they want the most. So people coming into the industry, you know, we've been talking about opportunity. There's a huge opportunity there for any young innovator, young person who's excited to actually make a change in someone else's life, which is a huge motivator. This is the industry for that.
Yep.
I was going to say, we have got a global discussion, and that's one of the things I found very early on. That's part of the reason for starting World Refrigeration, because these conversations, as Trevor says, are happening all over the world. We might not be in the same language, but we all speak refrigeration language. It's quite strong. We can all communicate. And we all help each other sometimes do the wrong things. We all start to replicate all the bad practices we have. And that comes to, we have to look outside our industry sometimes. You know, where are the young people going? What are they recruiting? How is that working? Let's work together, but let's look what best practice is. And it may not be something that any of us are doing.
Yeah.
Andre or Dave, do you have sorry, Trev, Andre or Dave, do you have a comment as well?
Yeah, for me, it's definitely trying to, well, how do we educate the youngsters? I've over the last couple of years, I've been involved at a STEM show up here in Auckland, and you're getting ages between probably 7 to 11 or 12. And just by having marshmallows in a vacuum, and you see the expressions on their face, you got engagement straight away. So I do feel trying to start getting refrigeration notice at a younger age is definitely important. But again, also the public, the parents. You ask any parent, what they'll say to you, what job are you on refrigeration? Oh, my fridge. All of it. It's always about their fridge or their heat pump. It's not about the rest of the industry. That's just a drop in the ocean. So it's really trying to raise public awareness on that front, on the public, so the parents also know about it, and they can also let their kids know about it.
Yeah, I often play a dinner party trick that when you're sitting at a table of guests and you're eating your meal, just ask them where the food came from that's in front of them, and if they're eating raspberries in the middle of winter or whatever the product is on their plate, how did they get that? Where did it come from? How did it come to be here in that condition? And people have no idea. You know, they expect to be able to go into the supermarket and get a fillet of Canadian salmon, fresh fish at any time of the year, regardless of understanding just the technology that's gone into getting that there. And you start conversations like that, and people start to understand a little bit about what we do. And yep, it's a great trade to be in.
I think we could spend another hour, right, talking. Unfortunately, it's already over time. And I just really want to thank you all for being a part of World Refrigeration Day here in New Zealand, first in the world, as Matthew said. Is there any last words? What is, in terms of the future of cool? We're looking for a cool future. So what is that, maybe one last sentence from everyone kind of wrapping up. What does that mean for you guys in this day ahead?
For me, it's about getting the youngsters or getting the youngsters into the trade. Something I'm very passionate about, and I will achieve it one day or sooner than later. Dave.
I think getting the industry working together globally, as you've said, Trevor and Stephen, it's we need to share our stories and work, because we are all in the same boat. It's the same story everywhere you go. So yeah, just work together.
What about you, Tim?
Yeah, I think the regulations are driving a lot of innovation. So as Trevor's mentioned a few times, there's a huge opportunity there for the trade. So let's embrace it rather than be afraid of it, really.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I want to challenge everyone here, anyone who listens to this in the future, to talk to their kids about it, because even internally, I know people that do refrigeration do not talk about getting into this industry about it. And one of my friends was doing a big conference with 200 refrigeration HVAC professionals, and they kept asking this question: why isn't more young kids coming into the industry? And he posed a question back: how many are you actively promoting the trades to your kids? 3 people out of 200 people put their hands up. So I challenge everyone listening to this to start talking to their kids about trades. So when their friends come over, you talk about trades as well as externally. Let's start talking more about trades, refrigeration specifically, because I'm biased. And let's start together getting more people involved and active in refrigeration.
Well said.
Stephen?
Of course. Talking to somebody in New Zealand, I'm already talking to the future because they're way ahead of us in time. So we'll catch up with you in about 12 hours or so. Now, for me, it's many things. All the speakers have given very good points, which I would have raised, but they've said it better anyway. But I think it's about bringing it back to being people-centered. Every time refrigeration cooling is in the headlines, it's not to do with people. People are literally dying from heat stress. People do need their food delivered. We need food security. We need vaccines delivered. Bring it back. Bring the conversation back to the actual good that it's doing for people. And I think that's the difference. Instead of all the headlines that we get at the moment, I think it's a great industry to be in. It does change people's lives, and it's essential for the future.
Matthew, did you want to say anything? We'll let you have a.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, I'm just I'm absolutely inspired by the comments that you've all made this morning, and is particularly motivated by you, Stephen, in wanting to now travel the world, putting markers on all the countries I've visited to do with refrigeration, and that's a great way to travel. I think that I agree. I think there is the conversations that need to be continued with our family, our younger families and friends and children around the opportunities that this trade, this industry offers to actually play a key role in protecting the future of humanity, really, on this planet. When you think about the opportunities that are there, and I look at the phrase on the wall behind Tim there, climate changed. Well, that's a great slogan to have, and just being part of that, I think is it's hugely beneficial for all of us. So yeah. And I've also just had a message come through from Janine from CoolSafe talking about investing in the change. CoolSafe are going to fund $500,000 per annum into the HVAC sector for continued professional development, which has just come through this morning. So if nothing else, our podcast this morning has managed to squeeze $500,000 more into the economy for professional development for our industry. So that's awesome.
Yes,
excellent.
That's amazing, CoolSafe. Thank you. And also for those locally, for local action, and don't forget Inspiring the Future. It's a primary school based initiative that brings refrigeration engineers into school to talk to our young people. By the age of 9, you're already starting to form your career. There's some fantastic research there. So that's inspiring the future for those of you who want to think global, act local. All right. Well,
Yeah.
thank you all for your contribution. Sorry, Stephen.
Can I add one more thing? Sorry, I
Sure.
hate that, but I must. It's just the going into schools, and Megan, you've probably heard this already, and I think Andrea. The going into schools, there's this thing with the gender issue, and what we found in the UK, all the research in UK and Europe has found that when the dare I say it, the older male goes in, the boys get excited, but the girls at this early age start to form that unconscious, but that bias. It's a male thing. When you send the women in, the boys are still excited. They still, whoa, this is still exciting. But the girls are equally engaged as well at that early age. And if you can just get them in that early perception, so it's a win-win. It's a win-win for everybody. I'm not trying to put any men off from going at all, because there is a place for that. But we must encourage more women to feel confident and comfortable going into school speaking about our industry.
And that's the topic of our next session together, I think.
Okay, team. Thank you.
Thank you all for joining us today, this
Thank you.
morning. Have
Thank
a
you.
great World Refrigeration Day, everyone. Take care.
Bye.
See you
Thank
all.
you.
Thanks
Thank
all.
you.
Bye.
Bye.